diys-by-dar. Can we get from this blank canvas over here to this painting using decoupage paper? Yes, you can. I belong to a group, the Made by Marley Decoupage paper group, and I'll leave the link so you can find that. And it's one of the best groups I've ever belonged to. I have learned so much, and we did a group project. Lel printed off some special paper for us, which is actually a rather famous painting by Gustav Klimt, and we are to try and get this picture blended out. It is an exercise in blending. So the first thing that I want to do is get this leveled up. So when I put this piece of decoupage paper down, it is in the middle of this canvas, or it could look a little bit funny. Now, when you have to butt two pieces of paper up, you really need to cut the ends. Kind of just like when you're doing wallpaper and you're going to butt a couple ends of wallpaper up. So I have both of the ends cut as straight as I could, and they look like they're matching up pretty good. So the rest of the paper, I'm going to go ahead and rip the outside off all the way around the rest of the pieces, because we are going to be blending paint right up into and onto this paper. So when I set these down, they look pretty good together. So the next is going to be to get my decoupage paste, my Mod Podge, and put this piece of decoupage paper on this gessoed canvas. Some of us did a canvas, and some of us put it on furniture. I opted to put mine on a canvas. So this was the canvas I used, and at the end, I probably used a little bit of a large one, but I remedied that at the end. I'm putting my paste on and getting this piece of paper down, looking at both the sides so I get it squared up. And once I set it down there, I am going to get a soft cloth, and I am going to go ahead and start somewhat there at the center and work my way out, removing any fine wrinkles or any crinkles on the end of the paper, because those are not something that is real fun to deal with when you're trying to match up paint around the outside edge of decoupage paper. Now, when I get to my second piece, and Mod Podge is the glue of choice, I used a really soft brush, and my last strokes are going to be smoothing it out. No lumps, no chunks, and no brush strokes. Well, I don't know what happened here. I think I may have been concentrating so hard on getting this lined up at the seam that I kind of forgot about the lower half, because I ended up with quite a few wrinkles at the bottom. But we will show you a little trick on how to fix that. My seam looks pretty good. I was happy with that part, but I was not happy with all the wrinkles that I had. So here we are. We have it on. Going to let this dry for a bit, and I can start painting on the base coat, just the background coat coming off of that painting, and I'm just trying to match that color up the best I can, the closest I can, with whatever color is the main color coming off of that painting. So I used the orange for the right side, the green for the middle, and since it was red flowers on the end, I used a red, and pink flowers on the top right, I used a pink. And I used green for the other two top portions. Now I am at that middle splice, and I need to hide this. And the best way that I handle matching up papers is follow the color, follow the pattern. Try to get that color matched up as best that you can, and then just follow whatever the pattern of that color is. If you need to use your finger to kind of blot it and kind of splay it out a bit, that's just your finger painting. So This took me probably 20 minutes just to do this little section. It's really heck being a perfectionist and taking on a project like this. But here it is when I was completed, and here's a close-up of that. You can see it a little bit, but not too much, and that's how you want a splice to look, totally disappear. So I'm ready to go ahead and paint, and before that, though, here's the wrinkles. There's a real big one there. You can see where I already took sandpaper and I sanded these other large wrinkles out of there. And I have a 220 grit piece of sandpaper, and I'm going directly over the top of that wrinkle, and I am sanding it off all the way down to the edge of that paper. There's another one right there, and I just fold that paper in such a way where I'm only hitting that wrinkle and not too much, because I have to repaint all this now on what I sanded off. And you always want to make sure you get that very edge if you've got a little bubble up right there from the paper. So get that little area off as well. So there you can see all of my wrinkles. Wow, that was a bad decoupage job. All right, now I'm ready to paint, and I'm going to start over on the right-hand side where the green is, possibly some grass and some flowers, and then above it, just a whole bunch of flowers, just a Mod Podge mash of flowers, and getting the details in so they flow off of the paper and match the rest of the painting. And finally completed with those flowers on that side, and I am going to start looking at this dress. This dress was insanity. It took me 4 days to do this dress all the way down. There were so many geometric shapes, and I was really trying to match this up. I tried to follow what patterns were in there and the colors that were in there, and this was what I came up with. And now to the left, I did a pot where the flowers were starting to come out of. Later, I found out it was actually a table sitting on a rug. Well, mine ended up being a pot sitting on a table. So here are those little round flowers, and they have black centers. And I kept on my merry way, matching that up, coming off of that paper. And I was getting stir crazy, so I made some big daffodils up in the right-hand corner. Started to continue back over on the left with bigger flowers coming up. And you can see a couple guys like standing there behind her left shoulder. And a lot of the people in the group were not really liking them. So a lot of us opted to just go ahead and paint over them. And I just matched the background here again and tried to follow the color and the pattern of the paper that was below that to make it look like one continuous piece or one continuous painting going all the way up that side. So that also probably took me a couple hours to get that completed. But once I was done, I was pretty happy with that, but getting pretty frustrated. So here comes the big flowers. Big flower up to the left. And now Dar's cheating because she took her IOD stamps and she is going to stamp, paint, stamp. Right there I painted those, but I was getting a little bit antsy and wanted to get done with this project. So when you stamp, paint, stamp, you just stamp the area, you go ahead and you paint it back in, and then you stamp over the top of it again. And I used a stone gray ink instead of black, so it would be just a little bit more subtle. And I thought it turned out pretty good. It wasn't too strong, but you could still see that there was a little bit of definition in what those petals were. So once I get the rest of these flowers on, now I have floating flowers all over. What am I going to do with that? Well, I decided that I would just go ahead and start to paint leaves in between all of them So your imagination could imagine that they were hooked to something underneath and going off the edge of the canvas, and went back to the daffodils there on the upper right hand side, gave them a little more definition. And then I said, hey, I'm calling this good. And here it is after about 6 weeks. So you can see, take some decoupage paper and do a painting. Now next weekend, I'll have this piece finished and up next Sunday at 7. Come join me. And I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch. I am a Made by Marley Brand Ambassador. And please like and subscribe and hit that little bell so I can ring you on your phone.